Hello everybody, this is the second video for the notes for section 7.2 Advanced Geometry, talking about the converse of the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, first video we talked about the idea of setting up the generic version of Pythagorean Theorem, a squared plus b squared, and then that longest side c squared. If it was equal to, we had a right triangle. If it was greater than, we had an acute. Less than, we had an obtuse. Okay, that's what we talked about in the first video. So this is just the examples, how this stuff is used. All right, so in this question it says decide whether the numbers can represent the side lengths of a triangle. All right, that goes back to the triangle inequality theorem, which said the two shorter sides have to add to be more than the longest side. Square root of 13, it's like 3.7 something. I'm not exactly sure, but it's somewhere in there. When we add it to 10, that has to be greater than 12, which it is. Okay, so we are dealing with a triangle in this example. Now, if they can form a triangle, which we can, classify the triangle as a right, acute, or obtuse. All right, so to do these problems, your thought process has to be, if this thing is going to be a right triangle, which side is my hypotenuse? Okay, the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So that's how we're going to set this up. One leg, it's not really a leg because we don't know if it's a right triangle, but a shorter side squared plus the other shorter side squared. And we're going to put a big question mark here because that's what we're trying to figure out. Is it equal to, less than, greater than? We don't know, but it's going to be compared to 12 squared. Okay, if it's a right triangle, we'll have an equal sign and it will equal to 12 squared because that would be the hypotenuse, but we don't know yet. So that's what we're figuring out. The square root of 13 squared, you got to follow order of operations. This is 13 plus 10 squared is 100. And again, question mark, 12 squared is 144. So that's 113. That is definitely less than 144. So that longest side, when you square it, it is more than the sum of the other two sides squared. That means we are looking at an obtuse triangle. Okay? This is how these problems work. So, same idea in this second example. I'm just going to set it up, but you can solve it on your own. If it's going to be a right triangle, the 28, the longest side, that will be your hypotenuse, if it's a right triangle. So we go 20 squared plus 21 squared, and again, a question mark, that's what we're trying to figure out, compared to 28 squared. And then we see what we have. Okay, I'll let you finish that one. All right, we're going to do this first example, number 15. It says the sides and classification of a triangle are given below. The length of the longest side is the integer given. What value or values of x make the triangle? So we have a right triangle. The length of the longest side is this integer 8. Because it's a right triangle, 8 is the longest side, that makes that the hypotenuse. So what value of x makes this a right triangle with a hypotenuse of 8? Well, because it's a right triangle, when we set up Pythagorean Theorem, smaller side squared plus smaller side squared will equal, again, because of the right triangle, the longest side squared. All right, we've done a problem like this in the first example. We have 1x squared plus another x squared, that's 2x squareds to equal 64. We're trying to solve for x, so divide by 2. So x squared equals 32. We're going to take the square root of both sides, which again is always positive or negative, but we're talking about side length, so it's only going to be positive. Now the square root of 32, to simplify this, 32 is 16 times 2, which is the square root of 16, which is 4, times the square root of 2. There's the x value that makes this a right triangle with a hypotenuse of 8. Okay. Question number 18. I'm going to do this in a separate video because it requires some algebra that we really haven't talked about yet. Number 20 is very similar. I'll just let you do that one on your own, but pay attention to the next video for how to do number 18. It's all the same basic stuff, but the algebra is slightly more. So, bye for now. See you in hopefully a minute or two when you're watching the next video.